It has been weeks since the shocking and mysterious death of former Minister Nathi Mthethwa in Paris. Yet the pain, confusion and unanswered questions continue to haunt his grieving family. Now, in a deeply emotional and unexpected turn of events, his elderly father has finally broken his silence, and his words have left the nation speechless. In an exclusive and heart-wrenching conversation, Dare's father, who had remained quiet since the day the tragic news broke, described the chilling moment he realized something was terribly wrong. Not only with his son's death, but also with how the entire burial was conducted. "From the day they told me my son had died, I felt something was not right," he said, his voice trembling with grief. "I could feel it in my bones. The story they told us did not make sense. But I stayed silent because I was afraid. Now I can't hold it in anymore." According to close family sources, the father had been warned by several high-ranking individuals not to speak publicly about the matter. Despite the pressure and fear, what ultimately pushed him to come forward was what he described as a strange and controlled funeral. The burial, held under unusually tight security, was far from a normal family farewell. Military vehicles surrounded the cemetery entrance and armed guards patrolled the perimeter, creating an atmosphere more fitting for a classified operation than a private ceremony. Several attendees reported that their phones were confiscated before the ceremony began and cameras were strictly forbidden. "We were told it was a private event," one attendee revealed, "but it didn't feel like a family burial. It felt like something secretive, like a state operation." Even more bizarre were reports that the casket had been sealed before reaching the family home, and no one, not even Dare's father, was permitted to open it. When he begged to see his son's body one last time, officials allegedly told him it was impossible due to security reasons. The father's voice broke as he recalled the painful moment. "I begged them. I told them, 'Let me see my child before you put him in the ground.' But they refused. That broke me. To bury your own son without knowing if it's really him inside that coffin, that's something no father should ever go through." Several relatives confirmed the father's emotional outburst during the ceremony and admitted they too were deeply suspicious of how things were handled. One cousin claimed that powerful figures within the government seemed desperate to have the funeral completed quickly before too many questions were asked. "Everything was rushed," the cousin said. "From the transport of the body to the burial itself, nothing happened the way we expected. We were told what to do, where to stand, and when to leave. It was not a normal burial. Even journalists who attempted to cover the event were reportedly kept at a distance. Police blocked off access roads and news crews were ordered to shut off their cameras. A few managed to capture distant footage showing high-profile government officials arriving under heavy escort only to leave immediately after the ceremony." Dare's death was initially reported as the result of a medical emergency in Paris. However, conflicting reports later surfaced, suggesting possible foul play. French investigators have remained tight-lipped while South African authorities continue to insist that there was no criminal involvement. But the father refuses to accept the official story. "If my son truly died of natural causes," he asked, "why hide his body? Why rush his burial? Why bring soldiers to a family funeral? They can call me old, but I'm not blind. Something terrible happened to my boy." Rumors have since begun to spread that Nathi may have been in possession of sensitive information linking powerful politicians to secret financial dealings and international contracts. Those close to him claimed that he had been under immense pressure in the weeks leading up to his trip to Paris. "He told me on the phone that he felt unsafe," his father said. "He said, 'Tart, I'll tell you everything when I get back home.' But he never came back." Witnesses described eerie and unexplained moments during the funeral. Some claimed to have heard whispered arguments among security officials just before the coffin was lowered. Others noticed certain guests believed to be high-ranking political figures appearing tense and avoiding any contact with the family. "It was like they were hiding something," one neighbor recalled. "Even the pastor looked nervous. Everything about that day felt wrong." The most disturbing claim, however, came from one of the burial workers who reportedly told a journalist off the record that the coffin appeared heavier than usual and was sealed in a way he had never seen before. Since the burial, Dare's father has refused to attend any government-led memorials or media briefings. Instead, he has vowed to conduct his own search for the truth with the support of several independent activists and community leaders. They can threaten me, they can silence me. But I will not stop until I know what really happened. He declared. A father knows when his child's death is not natural. My heart tells me this was not an accident, it was something else. His courageous decision to speak out has reignited public outrage, with many South Africans demanding transparency from both the government and French authorities. Calls are growing louder for the release of the official autopsy report and for a full investigation into how the body was handled from France to South Africa. Social media has exploded with questions. Why was the coffin sealed? Why were the family and the press kept at a distance? And most importantly, what was Nathima doing in Paris? And who was he meeting before his untimely death? For now, those questions remain unanswered. But the silence that once surrounded the tragedy has been shattered. Da's father's emotional interview has touched millions. His words echoing through the country and reigniting painful memories of past political cover-ups. His determination to uncover the truth has made him a symbol of courage in the face of fear and intimidation. Many have praised him for his bravery, while others fear for his safety as he challenges powerful forces that may have much to lose if the truth comes out. What began as a family's private grief has now evolved into a national outcry, demanding accountability and justice. Community leaders and human rights organizations have joined in calling for an independent inquiry into Dare's death, arguing that the secrecy surrounding his funeral and the inconsistencies in the official narrative point to something far deeper and more sinister. We cannot accept vague statements and hidden reports. One activist said, if there's nothing to hide, then let the truth be known. Journalists too have renewed their investigations, attempting to trace Da's final movements in Paris and uncover any connections he may have had with international figures or companies linked to government deals. Some reports indicate that he was scheduled to meet with foreign investors and political intermediaries just days before his death, but official travel records remain sealed. In the meantime, the family continues to live with pain and uncertainty. Dare's father has described sleepless nights filled with questions that no one seems willing to answer. Friends say he spends hours each day at his son's gravesite, speaking to him as if he was still alive. He sits there quietly, one neighbor said, sometimes for hours, just staring at the ground. It's as if he's waiting for the truth to rise from the earth. His words during the interview were haunting, filled with both sorrow and defiance. They thought burying him would bury the truth, but the truth is still alive and it's coming for them. This haunting statement has since become a rallying cry across social media, with hashtags demanding justice and transparency trending nationwide. Citizens have begun organizing vigils and protests outside government offices, calling for both the French and South African authorities to reveal the full details of their investigations. Public trust in the official narrative has eroded as more inconsistencies emerge, and the case has become a symbol of the struggle between ordinary citizens and the political elite. As the story continues to unfold, one thing is clear. The mystery surrounding Nathima's death has transcended borders and captured global attention. International observers have begun questioning the diplomatic handling of the case, with some speculating that political pressure may be influencing the investigation. Yet despite the powerful forces at play, Dare's father remains steadfast in his pursuit of truth. They can try to bury it under lies, he said, but truth has a way of finding light. His determination has inspired others to speak out against corruption, secrecy, and the abuse of power that have long plagued the political system. The tragedy of Nathima's death has exposed deep fractures in the institutions meant to protect the people and uphold justice. It has shown how fear and silence can be used as tools to control narratives, but also how a single voice driven by love and loss can awaken a nation. Whether the truth will ever be fully uncovered remains uncertain. But what cannot be denied is the impact of a grieving father's words. His pain has become the conscience of a country, a reminder that beneath the layers of politics and power, there are still human hearts that demand truth, justice, and closure. In the end, the story of Nathi Mthethwa's death is no longer just about one man or one family. It is about a nation's reckoning with its own conscience. As public pressure mounts and new revelations begin to surface, one thing is certain. The silence has been broken. And the truth, no matter how deeply buried, will not stay hidden forever.